everyone. Today I am meeting with Dr. Lara, who is a psychologist and also a food freedom coach. And we're going to have a little bit of a chat about herself and what she does to help women that have issues or problems with food, and just to make it all a bit easier. I'm so excited for this conversation, and I hope it will be able to help some of you out there that are struggling with food. Hi.
Hello, it's so nice to meet you properly.
No, thank you so much for having me in your beautiful
it's okay.
home.
No problem.
So tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do and what brought you here really, and what made you do what you do.
Yeah, so my background's in psychology. So I'm trained as a psychologist. I work part-time as an associate professor at City University.
Wow.
So I teach on a psychology degree there. And part-time I work as a food freedom coach. So it's an interesting journey actually, because I trained as a health coach about 6 years ago and used to work with women, generally people who just wanted to be more healthy, kind of very broadly. But what I was finding is that a lot of women were restricting a lot of the food that they ate. So they thought that to be healthy, they needed to cut sugar, cut carbs, cut dairy,
Cut
whatever
everything.
whatever the going trend was. And I was finding that it ended up with women having a very negative relationship with food, and then often also with their body image. So I did a bit of retraining because I really felt that this is not a good place for women to be in, basically. And over the last year or so, I've been focusing much more on food freedom, and it's a really different perspective where you're able to manage your weight in a way that means you're not restricting food. So rather than restricting food, you're allowing all foods into your life.
That's
and
so important, isn't it? Because the minute you restrict yourself from something, you want it all.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, is that as soon as you stop the restriction, cravings go away, that guilty feeling when you eat goes away, emotional eating goes away, and yeah, so that's what we do.
I'm sure men, women, and you know, in general, people. I don't know many people that don't have some form of struggle with food.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a niche, and it's definitely a really important message.
Definitely.
So tell us a little bit the secrets and what have you found helps people through this and to better their relationship with food.
Yeah, I would say there's two main things that people can do. So one is to ditch diets. And I've been saying this for years actually. I always used to say this as a health coach anyway, but really when you restrict, just like you said, your body wants things more, and it's from both the biological perspective and the psychological perspective. If you stop eating, whether it's you cut down calories or you cut down out food groups, what happens is your body thinks it's going to a starvation mode. So your body does everything it can to try and get you to eat. So you actually notice more food around you. Your hormones go into overdrive, so you have to eat a lot more food to feel hungry, and you feel hungrier. So if you've ever been on a diet, you know that feeling of like, I'm so hungry, I just want to eat more and I can't because, you know, I'm not allowed these calories or I'm not allowed carbs. So there's the biological perspective, but also psychological perspective, where just that whole idea is like, if anyone has kids and you say to your children, you can play with all these toys except this one here, that's the one they want to play with. And it's the same with eating. If you say you can eat these foods but you can't eat these foods, these are forbidden, they're not allowed, then people want them more. You create that psychological craving, and that's when people start binging, they start emotional eating, they start feeling guilty every time they eat. So that's my first tip, is ditch the diet.
It makes complete sense. You heard it here.
Yes,
Ditch the diet.
Ditch the diet. And the second one, which is much harder to do because it's everywhere you look, is to stop labeling food. So you think of anything, how I used to speak even with my kids, is like you've categorized food into this is good food, this is bad food, this is healthy, this is unhealthy, this is junk food, it's a treat, it's a cheat, it's guilt-free, a guilty pleasure. Like we use all this moralizing terminology to describe food. So we get to the stage where we're moralizing ourselves. So we're either being good or we're craving bad.
That's
and then
such pressure, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Or daily, hourly,
totally.
All the
then
time.
if we ever cave into the cravings, then we feel guilty because
Yeah.
we've done bad. So if you take away the labels and you start just calling food what it is, an apple is an apple, a bar of chocolate is a bar of chocolate, or you could say it's dessert, it's breakfast, it's lunch. You take away the labels and then food has less of an emotional hold over you because you're like, well, it's just a packet of crisps. It's just a banana. Like there's nothing particularly significant
it's true.
about it.
You automatically put it in a category,
Yeah,
don't you?
yeah.
And even with my kids, with the sugar, one of my kids could eat sugar all day long, and I'm probably giving her, without knowing, a little bit of a complex about it.
Yeah. It's been definitely a journey with me as well, with my children, like thinking about how we as a family used to describe certain foods, and we always used to say, oh, you can have a treat. But the more you talk about food like that, the more you put it onto a pedestal, so it becomes more of a thing, more of an issue. And I found with my kids, the more I used to be, oh my gosh, if anyone met me like 6 or 7 years ago, I didn't want my kids to eat sugar, and I would, to the point where I would do baking that was sugar-free baking and expect my kids to like it, and they'd be like, oh, what is this? It's disgusting. But now I'm much more relaxed about it, and I'm like, I'd much rather, let's bake some cupcakes. They've got sugar in them, they've got butter in them, and the kids have one or two, and then that's it.
So it
doesn't become a thing.
Yeah,
exactly. Whereas
the
before,
excess.
I was forcing these probably quite disgusting sugar-free things on them.
We're all guilty of
and then it created more of an issue. We'd go to a restaurant and I'd find my son eating sugar cubes, and I'm like, what are you doing? Because I was so anti-sugar. And now as soon as I've become much more chilled about it, I don't see that behaviour in them, and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm glad I found out now rather than
that's a fantastic tip, because we all do. We obsess with what is right and what is wrong.
Yeah, and I think it causes us more stress and more at the end of the day, it becomes a mental health issue because you're stressing about food. Oh no, am I eating the right thing? Am I eating the wrong thing? So it's let's all relax about it. It's okay.
And try and get that balance, a
Yeah.
little bit of balance.
Yes.
I mean, I know so many of my friends that cut out the carbs completely.
Yes.
Sugar is next,
Yeah.
wheat's now,
Yeah.
and it's just completely restrictive, and it's not great for
Yeah.
you, is it? It's
No,
good
it's
for
not.
you.
And it causes, in the end, so, and this is the thing that a lot of people say to me, oh yeah, but I did keto and I lost loads of weight, or I did Weight Watchers and it helped me lose weight, and I'm always like, great, diets work, they do work. And this is where I get all geeky on it in psychology, that the research shows that if you, and this is spreads across all diets they've done, whether it's Weight Watchers or keto or something like that, essentially after 6 months, most people have lost about 10% of their body weight. So a lot of the researchers say, great, this diet works, it's amazing. But when you look at the long-term research, after 5 years, the vast majority of dieters have put the weight back on, and mostly have put more weight on. And it depends on what papers you read, but it's between 85 and 95% of people put the weight back on. So essentially, over 6 months, diets work, but over 5 years, they don't. So the research is overwhelming in that. So, and then in that process, you end up creating a negative relationship with food. So I say, don't diet in the first place, and have the balance, like we were saying.
Some people have different relationships with food, but it's a lifestyle. It's something that is sustainable.
Yes.
It's something that you can implement in your everyday.
Yeah.
Something that you don't have to really. But I have a lot of friends that go on extreme diets, but it's just really hard to keep.
Yes.
And then
exactly.
it does become something that you feel very guilty about.
Yeah. And in fact, what you just said, that question about sustainability, that's a good question to ask yourself if you're going on a diet. Is it going to be sustainable forever? Can I do this forever? And in most cases, that answer is no. So if you can't do it forever, you do need to find something that's sustainable and that works forever.
Yeah, really good advice. And what other tips do you have? So if anybody's thinking or struggling with food, like you give us 2 really fantastic tips. What's your third tip that you pass on and share with the group?
My third tip, so one of the things that a lot of my clients come to me about is emotional eating. So they call themselves emotional eaters. They feel like self-confessed emotional eaters. So this is my other tip. I would say that if you feel like an emotional eater, then the first thing I would say is that food is emotionally laden. So if you think about all the things that we do in life that involve food, so we eat out with friends, you go on a romantic date with your partner, you celebrate weddings with food, funerals, food is just part of people's culture.
Of our
exactly.
world. That's what we when we gather. It's all about
exactly
food.
And often that's the thing, you meet with friends, you eat food. So I think we need to redefine what emotional eating is, because food is emotionally laden, and that's okay. And it is okay to comfort eat sometimes. If you break up with your boyfriend or girlfriend and you find yourself drawn to a tub of Ben and Jerry's, it's okay, go for it, if that is the comfort that you need. So I would say, a little bit of comfort food is okay. Where it can become problematic, and you might want to start exploring other ways to deal with your emotions, is when it starts to become habitual. So a lot of my clients say, for example, that they're bored. So that's an emotion. I'm bored. I come home from work, I'm bored, I'll sit in front of the telly and end up eating loads of food, and I'm doing it in an unconscious way because I'm not really concentrated. I'm just bored and eating food instead. So I would say if you feel like you're doing things more in an unconscious way, then that's when you want to address the emotion. So what emotion are you feeling, and how can you address it in a different way? Can you, go for a walk around the block, or if you're feeling sad, cry, or journal or take notes, or maybe meditate, or find other ways to process your emotions. Because I think a lot of people, they feel sad or stressed or burnt out or bored, and they reach for food. So if you see yourself, and again, like I say, it's okay to do that emotion occasionally, but if you're doing it regularly and you feel like it's problematic, then that's when I would say look at other ways to cope with your emotions
and change your habits. In fact, I on a personal level, I have weeks when I'm good, and I have weeks when, if I start the week, or if you cheat, and then you say, I'll write this week off, and that turns out to being more of a problem because it's longer, and then
and there's the thing is that if you're talking about it in that way, it's like, oh no, I've messed up now, oh sod it, I'm just going to eat the whole whatever, and I remember I personally was like that. It was like, oh, I've eaten a biscuit, oh well, I might as well eat the whole packet. Or I've eaten a handful of crisps, oh, I'm might as well eat the whole thing. And it's that kind of thinking, that kind of moralistic thinking that can lead.
Yeah, it's so hard to change.
It is. It's a really hard process, and I think that's why a lot of people need that support and coaching around it, because it's often changing years of ingrained practice, what your parents said to you, what your teachers said to you, what you've said to yourself over all these years, and it's okay to eat this stuff. It's hard.
Absolutely, habits of a lifetime.
Yes, exactly.
So you live in NW2. Yes. You have a gorgeous house, and I just wanted to ask, what do you love about living here? What do you love about the neighborhood? And why did you move here?
Yeah, so we initially moved in 2010 to the area, so just down the road, and we moved here actually not knowing the area particularly well, but we were essentially looking for somewhere that we would be able to get a house with a garden, because it was before children, but we knew that we were, I think I was pregnant at the time, so we knew that we were on that path. So, and it's interesting. I feel like I've grown to love this area more and more because I've got to know people in the area. So I think the community is incredible. I've met so many amazing people through the kids' school, which has been lovely. Like getting to know people that live within walking distance is so nice. I think it's such a vibrant community. It's extremely diverse. So I love the fact that you walk around and you can hear different languages everywhere. So many people from different, whether it's, you know, different, like Europeans, South America, different ethnicities. It's really nice to have that level of diversity. I love it. We're near Gladstone Park. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's one of my favourite parks.
Yeah, it's a wonderful park.
I discovered it too when I moved here 10 years ago, and I had never ventured, because a lot of people move into this area either from West Hampstead or Queen's Park, or they kind of do exactly what we have done. Want the space, want the garden, want the space, are going to grow the family. And Gladstone Park was such a discovery. Yeah,
it's amazing. I really love it. And interestingly, so we actually moved house a year ago, and when we started looking for houses, I was very specific that I only wanted to move to NW2, so I had a very, very limited search area that I was looking, and we didn't desperately need to move, so we basically were waiting for the right house that was in the area and sort of ticked all the boxes, and this is it. So I love Willesden Green. I can't see, Willesden Green, Cricklewood, I really can't see myself ever leaving. Just love it. I'm total Londoner now, so I grew up like you grew up abroad, so I grew up in Kenya.
Oh wow!
So I only moved to London when I was 21. So
I didn't know
I feel
that.
Like London is my home now, 100%.
It's funny. I say that I'm born in Malta. I was born in Ecuador, raised in Malta. My mother's Italian. I'm a proper Londoner.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
It feels like home because it is so diverse and so accepting, and
I feel that as well.
A real family area with lovely people, and the more I get to know people and do my NW2 heroes, and meet amazing people like you said, the more I grow to love it.
Yeah, it's so nice. It's such a lovely area, and I'm always to all my friends, I'm like, forget Chiswick, forget all those places you want to live in, come up this way, it's great.
So is there anything else you want to share with the group? I will share your details. Thank you so much. Dr. Lara's details will be in the post, and feel free to get in touch if you need any more advice. I'm sure that anybody that follows her on Instagram will see her incredible posts, and she's out there helping people on a daily basis.
Yeah. So only one more thing, if anyone wants to find out a bit more about food freedom, I do a free masterclass.
Wow.
So it's on my website. It's drlarazib.com/masterclass. But I guess I can put the link in the notes. So if anyone, it's free, so you can hop on and find out a bit more about what I'm talking about.
Thank you so much for meeting me today in your beautiful home in NW2.
Yeah, it was so nice to meet you and chat.
Thanks.